My name is Darren Smith. I'm one of the co-founders of Point of Reference. And what we're going to talk about is re-engineering an application going from open source to force.com. So with me, get that back a little, is one of my customers, Jim. I'll have him introduce himself, tell you a little bit about who he is and the companies with Ethical.
Sure. Thanks, Darren. So my name is Jim Mayer. I'm Director of Sales Enablement and Productivity for Epicor Software Corporation. We're a global leader of providing business software and solutions for manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. We've got about 20,000 customers in 150 countries, approximately $1 billion in revenue, between 1,000 and 1,100 Salesforce.com users. I'm a certified admin. I lead a team of, we've got 14 people here at Dreamforce that are our admin team. So.
Great. So, 1899. In 1899, the Spanish-American War ended. In 1899, the lawnmower was patented, and Carnation released their first can of evaporated milk. And in 1899, the house that I used to own was built. And I spent 13 years trying to bring that 1899 house up to modern-day standards. Ripped out electrics, plumbing, kitchen, redid it from scratch, master bathroom, redid it from scratch. After 13 years, at some point, you say, stop, we're done. I cannot make this infrastructure come up to modern standards. That's exactly what we did with our application. So in 2003, we formed Point of Reference. And Point of Reference does customer references, sales customer references. We built an application on the LAMP stack to serve our clients and help sales get easy access to customer references and provide them to their prospects so they can help close deals. Think about 2003 for a moment. In 2003, it'll be 4 years before the iPhone is released. It'll be 7 years from 2003 before the iPad is released. But this is the infrastructure that we have our application built on. The underpinnings of the whole thing are built to serve on products that didn't even exist, but everyone's using right now. So as we fast forward through to 2 years ago, we realized we're spending more and more and more time supporting the infrastructure and less time solving business problems for our clients. So we said we need to look at this again. So we get to now, 2014, we rebuilt this application. That original application, by the way, on the LAMP stack, that's an enterprise-size application, 360,000 lines of code that we decided we have to rebuild from scratch. Not a small task at all. So we decide we're going to rebuild it, but then what are we going to rebuild it on? I mean, we've served everyone, all comers. We're kind of wide open what we can rebuild on. So we looked around, and one of the first things we did was look at our client base. We realized that 90% of our client base are on Salesforce already. We were integrated with Salesforce with the old application. Why were they on Salesforce? What was the thing that they saw? We think there's a number of things there from the Salesforce standpoint that also helped us decide why are we going to go to force.com as the platform we build on rather than anything else. And one of the first things is the AppExchange. We get to be part of this ecosystem. All these great applications that are there, we're one of them. But a key part of that is the infrastructure that comes with it. Okay? We go back to that house, this infrastructure that we're constantly having to support. we don't have to constantly support an infrastructure when we're built on Force.com. That's all done for us. That's part of what Salesforce brings to the table for us. So they focus on things like security, the permissioning, the profiles, all that sort of stuff, the security of the infrastructure itself, ensuring that you can serve clients globally. We have clients, large clients, that are global organizations, so we need fast, responsive application worldwide. That's taken care of for us. That, again, then lets us focus on just solving business problems, doing what we do best, taking our expertise and applying that to solve the business problems for our clients instead of just focusing on this infrastructure all the time. Now, the second step is why build a native application? Okay, because you've still got options. Even if you build on Force.com, you don't need to be native. A couple of key things for us. One, database. We see this time and again with our clients. They're having to pull information from here, pull information from there, bring it all together in spreadsheets or whatever tools they're using. And this was taking more and more and more of their time. As a native application, all of our objects, everything on the application is in Salesforce. It is Salesforce. So we have 45 objects right now, I think. Is that right? 45? Yeah? 45 objects. And then all the fields that go along with that. Single user interface and user experience. A key for any application, whether it's customer reference management or any application, is user adoption. How do you drive user adoption? You make it as easy as possible for people to use that application. If salespeople are spending most of their time in Salesforce, then why give them a different look and feel just to use some other application? So we spent a lot of time making sure that our application looked and felt exactly like Salesforce. And that was very easy as a native application. We're mobile ready. Salesforce 1. To make it as pretty as we wanted it, then we certainly did some changes to Visualforce pages. We didn't have to, because the moment as a native application, I opened it up on Salesforce 1 when that was released. There it was. I did nothing. It was there. I had a mobile application. Previous application on the LAMP stack, we spent a ridiculous amount of time and money trying to make that work. So a lot of benefits there. Now, think about that for a moment. I've got 9 years of building on the LAMP stack with an in-house team, and this is what they know. They know Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. They don't know Salesforce and Apex. So that's where these guys come into play. This is 2 representatives from our PDO. Metacube, you'll see them out there in the Partner Hub. They're one of the sponsors out there. Okay? They're the reason that 360,000 lines of code is now 66,000 lines of code, and in less than a year, we'd taken the entire application, had it live on the AppExchange, and weren't just replicating that whole original application. We'd done things we'd only dreamed about over there. So we'd taken it forward, but because of these guys. We didn't have the in-house expertise to do it, and I didn't really want to hire the in-house expertise and try and bring them up to speed. If I could just educate Metacube, my team at Metacube, on customer reference management with the requirements, with what's required there, then they could bring their expertise to the table, and we're off to the races. The other thing that we did was, early on, we made sure that our partner rep, in our case it's Drew Quinlan for the Midwest region, made sure that Drew and our tech evangelist were aware of us, aware of what we were doing. This is a big strategic pivot for a company. You've had a LAMP stack application for 9 years, and now you're going to bet the company on rebuilding on a new platform and narrowing your field from I can serve everyone to I just serve people who are on Salesforce.com. So our current tech evangelist right here, Seb, we made extensive use of them and ran a lot of questions by them. We had a lot of questions. Things like governors and limits. What does all this mean, and how's it going to hamper us or help us? Eventually it helps you. It just feels like it's hampering you right up front. Another key thing from a native standpoint, we get to leverage everything that's in Salesforce. We're making extensive use of chatter, of workflow rules, of all the security infrastructure between permissioning and profiles. Everything that's already built in. We didn't have to build on our previous application, anything like that we had to build ourselves. This is all there for us to leverage and just, again, apply our expertise in the knowledge area of customer references to that, and then make it the best experience we can. And I'll show you a little bit of that in a moment. So that's why it mattered to us, why a native application matters to us. Why does native matter to your clients? So I'll let Jim talk to that.
Well, it's interesting as why it's important to you. We're very much in alignment on all of that, is because, when I look at any tool that we're going to invest in and deploy to our users, I've got the goals that it's got to be effective, efficient, and adopted by our users. And so the key factors that we see that influence all of that is that any solution that we provide needs to be right where our sales and marketing people live and breathe every day. And for us, that's Salesforce.com. That's kind of a no-brainer for all of us here. But the ease of use and the ability for our users to learn the application fairly quickly is highly influenced by it. Any tool that we present, sharing the same look and feel. I mean, it is Salesforce. It's not another application that's kind of integrated or built in or may have its own different look and feel. The point of reference solution just did that for us. And everything that we do today, in our mind, needs to be collaborative and mobile, so that we can capture all that knowledge of all of our users using the solutions that we provide, so that we can repurpose it and use it. So for us, at Epicor, our customer reference program doesn't function in a vacuum. We've got a lot of highly complicated, complex processes that none of the reference applications that we looked at could even conceive that we've built into our own organization. So we wanted to be able to take the information that's in our customer reference application and combine it with everything else that we do within our organization. As an example, we have a custom customer satisfaction survey process that we survey our customers. We have interview processes where we follow up on their actions, and during that process, we inquire about whether you would be willing to be a reference customer for us. So to be able to take that process and actually just tie that right into the reference program, our own built process, but we can trigger, we can workflow, we can easily adapt right into any of the tools that they've built, was critical for us.
Great. Give you a big picture look at what we're touching with our application. So from a process standpoint, we're getting to salespeople right where they live, in their opportunities. That's where they begin the process. We're leveraging the information from accounts and contacts, and then we're supplementing that significantly from a customer reference standpoint. And then we're pulling all that information together, like Jim said, to be able to report on it, have metrics that we can then drive to run the business. How does this manifest for the users? This is an example of what it looks like in Salesforce One. So from left to right, you bring up your opportunity in Salesforce One. On your mobile device, you've got a button right there, Find References. You come to a filter page where everyone who's a referenceable account and referenceable content is showing up. You make your selections or apply filters to those selections. From there, you go forward to a request page. You submit your request. That goes out to the account owners or the reference owners, and they can immediately approve that request to use that reference for a reference call or speaking engagement, whatever it is. That comes back through Chatter. That whole loop, that peer-to-peer loop from one salesperson to another salesperson, never requires anyone else to touch it. And this was a key for us. This is something we couldn't do in our previous application. We wanted to, but we could never quite get to it. So let me give you a quick look at what all of this looks like in the application itself. So I'm logged in as the sales guy, Scott Parsons. First thing he sees, nomination leaderboard. So that's another piece of ReferenceEdge, tracking the nominations of new customer references that are coming into the program and showing a leaderboard so he can see that, well, he's bottom of the pile right now. He needs to get some more nominations in if he's going to win anything from this nomination competition they got going. You can also see at every stage of the sales cycle how customer references are getting used, influencing revenue. So whenever they get used, we're tying that to the opportunity, pulling it together into this funnel. This is critical for driving a business. How are references getting used? Ultimately, though, what matters is that last one, the total revenue influenced. Customer references have been used at some point in this opportunity. That opportunity was closed and won. Year to date, $2.63 million of business have used references. That's a hard and fast number, which most customer reference programs sit inside of sales operations or marketing. Either way, they're looking at the budgets that they've got and justifying those budgets for what they need to do every year. That is how they justify that number. Here's what we have done directly to influence sales. So Scott goes over to one of his opportunities, and immediately in there, he's got a Find References button. He clicks on that. He comes up to a reference search page. He can apply filters here, just like we saw in Salesforce 1. Now we're in desktop environment doing the same thing. So those filters, he can select from any of the filters over here, or just view all the filters, say, I need somebody who can take a reference call, applies the reference call, comes back with his limited list of results, says, these look great. I want to request the use of AARP and affiliated logistics. Notice I get a warning at this point, says they've hit their limit. So we're able to build those things in. Again, as a salesperson, I don't need to be taught how to use this because it all feels very familiar to me. The limit reached, shown right over here. They know that you can ask for this, but you might not get it because they've already hit their limit for this month or this quarter or whatever it be. He selects those references. That's what I want to request. Comes into this page where he specifies exactly what does he want. Now notice that's going to two different people. It's going over to Sarah and it's going to Colleen. I need a reference call. It's setting a minimum deadline date for him. Tech people, type on this. Tech people ideally. So that's going to chatter out in two different directions. I submit that request. That's now gone off to Colleen and to Sarah. Can I use your references? So he gets a confirmation. Should get a confirmation. There we go. We'll log out as Scott. Log in as one of the other salespeople. See what they see. I come into Colleen's environment. There's a request from Scott. I want to use an account. You're the reference owner. Can I use them? In Chatter, whether it's on a mobile device or a tablet or desktop, clicks on the Approve Decline link, taken to this page where she can see not only those that are already in the customer reference program, she can see the other contacts that may not be, and she can decide, are these appropriate? Should I use one of these instead of the ones that are in the program? She knows best because she's closest to the account. Again, we're not trying to put other people inside of this process. We're trying to automate as much as possible. This is one of the biggest problems in a customer reference environment. She says, this will work great. We'll have Sherry do it, and Sherry is good to go next week. Good luck. Hopefully, you can type a little better than I can. There we go. And I approve it. I'm good to go. Are you sure you want to approve that request? I go back as Scott, and I immediately got my chatter notification coming from her. Now, the other thing that I can do, let's go back to the opportunity for a moment. Oh, logged in as Colleen. Come on, log out as Colleen. And in as Scott. There we go. Show his feed. Approved your reference request right there. So Scott's got all the information he needs. Close the loop completely. In fact, the last part of closing this loop is he's going to get, at the end of that deadline, he's going to get a notification saying, so how'd it go? So we're closing that part of the loop as well. The other side of things, again, from his opportunity, if I go into that, is maybe he's earlier in the sales cycle, and what he needs is not a live reference, but he needs to find some content he wants to share out. So we provided that as well. If you look down here, we've got several pieces of content. So I just pick a couple of those. Again, I could filter those to match my criteria. I can share those out through this invitation process. Prospect gets a link. They can click on that. They're taken to a branded microsite with that content that, again, we're tracking on. They can share. We know what's being clicked on. We're doing all this through sites. So sites don't require a login. We can provide this to any prospects out there. But again, it's tracking back into Salesforce. So we know if it's been rated, what ratings have gone on. We know who's clicked on it. We can tell the salesperson, in the last 24 hours, your prospects A, B, and C have clicked on these items. And we can go back to the content itself, and we can see how many invitations have been sent out, how many clicks have happened on them, how many times it's been rated, the overall rating by how many people. Again, we're tying it all together tightly. And this was a key part for us that we had in our original application that we really needed to have in this one. We were able to enhance it dramatically by being a native application. I know this is a key thing for you as well, Jim.
Yeah, so when we were evaluating the solutions, as a Salesforce.com user, we compared this solution to a bunch of others that were not native to the Force.com platform. And we, in essence, saw that same demo in our evaluation process. And just how it all clicks and it all is Force.com and it is just all completely ingrained in everything else that we do, that consistency just made it click for us. We didn't have another vendor's application where, yes, there was collaboration, but it was separated in their application as opposed to all the other collaboration in our own internal Salesforce instance. And seeing how the ReferenceEdge application utilized all of those tools, including content and so forth, it was the aha moment for us that although we knew other applications for longer periods of time and had used them previously, that this is just the way that we had to go because it was just part of everything else that we were going to be doing. In particular, and I know it's not really a sales pitch for ReferenceEdge here, but just seeing how they had implemented some of the content delivery and capturing of that information back using the native tools provided a capability to do something that we've been looking to do for 4 years, not at all related to reference program, but really how to deliver content to our customers in a more efficient way than native Salesforce.com content deliveries. And so why native to the platform matters is that we're taking this beyond what our customer reference program is about and expanding upon this using our own tools and our own click-to-configure capabilities to extend this to all of our content deliveries, not just around the reference program. So a native app just solved the individual need for a customer reference application, but enabled us to do so much more that we wouldn't have been able to do with a single point solution that just had some integration into Salesforce.
Thanks, Jim. So at this point, I just want to open it up for Q&A. Anything that you want to ask us about the process that we went through, taking an application, moving it to Force.com, the process of getting through security reviews or certification or anything like that. Just questions. Yeah?
I was interested on how your team, so you said you had your LAMP team that had those skills. Have they transitioned and learned like Apex development and Salesforce development, or did you end up reducing the size of that team? And what was your relationship? Was it the vendor did all of the work, or they supplemented and taught you?
We started with in-house team and with Metacube over a period of 9 months. I gave the option to my team. I said, here's the direction we're going. If you want to stick with your Linux track and that's where your head's at and that's where your life is going, that's great. Go that direction. No harm, no foul. This is where we're going. Some of them stuck with it longer than others, but ultimately, I have no in-house team now. This is my team, the PDO, because their deep expertise is what I needed. So it was about 9 months before the last person disappeared. It's not a bad thing, by the way. Just a little scary. Other questions? Yeah.
Well, for full disclosure, we've been in the implementation process, and we actually go live with our first group of users next week when I get back from Dreamforce. But the early feedback from our pilot groups is that it's going to be a huge win for us. And like everything we've said, they see it's just so much easier to accomplish just natively with all of their other processes in the app.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Has there been, this is for Jim too, I think, has there been much, for both of you probably, has there been much customization that you've done?
We have not. The great thing about this particular application was that there wasn't a lot of customization necessary because it was all highly configurable, just like everything else that we do. So, you know, it's that line you cross. Is it custom, or is it just, you know, a click to configure type thing? So we haven't done much out of the box just yet, but that's really one of the values that we see is, you know, after our first rollout, then being able to do all of the add-on things that we realize we're going to be able to do with this native Force.com application. That's just real exciting to us.
I can give you an example on the customization side with another client. From process standpoint, it's not something we could build into the application, but they wanted specific individuals to be notified when requests for references met certain criteria. We can never fully anticipate what those things are going to be because every client can configure those however they want. However, we can use workflow and triggers to do that and notify the appropriate people based on whatever a client's criteria are. That's the beauty of being right there.
You know, also in regard to customization, so when we were evaluating reference applications, you know, we had that in our mind. It's like, okay, I mentioned our customer satisfaction survey process. And to be able to say, you know, we want to tie all the way back to a question on a survey that we asked our customers, and perhaps which one of our account managers followed up to that survey with, you know, an interview and follow-up activities, then tied to who became a part of our reference program as a result of those efforts, to then what opportunities that they influenced as being part of the reference program and which opportunities we won. So, in our minds, we're like, okay, how can I report on all those back to all those other custom processes? And we asked, other providers, and the answers we kind of got back, from their sales reps were, let me talk to my consulting team, how we would go about doing that. Or we can customize our tool to do that for you. And that just wasn't the case with the native application. So that's the beauty of 100% native on the platform. Yeah, that's just a custom report type that we can tie all that data back and report in ways that these guys never thought of. And so
we could never do ourselves either in our previous application.
So that's where it really gets out of what do we need to customize versus what's just natively available to our users.
And has there been any upgrades of the Salesforce native application in terms of releases?
When we first released, we were on 1.15. That was this time last year. We're on 1.45 now.
And
so
how are upgrades,
yeah.
How are upgrades compared to the LAMP stack to the Salesforce native? In terms of impact to the customer, difficulties?
That's one of the interesting things. With a LAMP stack, you can control everything. That's also one of the challenges, that you never know what's going to happen until a client experiences it. We can run stuff through Sandbox, which helps a lot. We're still going to hit things that we don't know about because Epicor can have some specific thing. We had one that came up a couple of weeks ago that was something in a sidebar that we could never have anticipated. It's the tails thing that happens. You can never anticipate this, but it's easy to rev those and then push a patch to an upgrade. And we can push those. That was something that partners are given the ability to do about 12 or 15 months ago, to push upgrades to clients without having the Salesforce admin involved. From a rev to the package itself, we do need the admins involved. In the early stages, because we were doing massive iterations, then there was a lot more objects coming in, so there's more involved there. The next rev we're releasing, which is the end of this month, there's no new objects. It's a simple process. There's no post scripts they have to run or anything like that. So any admin should be able to run this and be good to go in about 10 minutes.
And from a customer's standpoint, during our implementation, we've had some of those new features pushed or changes to the application, and it really is transparent to us. It's not anything that we had to go and update any other integration components or anything like that. It's, hey, we've got an update we need to push to you. Okay, let it fly.
Yeah, we just ask for the approval and then done. Schedule it and go. Other questions? Thank you, everyone. I'll be around afterwards if you've got further things you want to do one-on-one. Thanks again.